Have you ever been caught completely off guard? Maybe your friend asks you for an impromptu wedding toast, or you log into a Zoom call and bam, you're face-to-face with the CEO.
Happens all the time.
Or maybe you're at some swanky party, a colleague introduces you to someone important, and your mind just, poof, goes blank. You want to sound smart, quick, charming, maybe, but there's that little voice just yelling, "This sucks!"
Right? We've all been there.
Today on The Deep Dive, we're tackling that exact feeling. We're diving into Matt Abraham's fantastic book, Think Faster, Talk Smarter. We're going to pull out the key insights, the practical stuff, to arm you with some real tools. Our mission, to help you turn those unexpected, kind of stressful moments from things you dread into opportunities where you actually feel confident, maybe even charming.
And it's really interesting, this idea that spontaneous communication isn't some innate talent. It's not this gift only a few people have.
It's actually a skill, something you can learn. I mean, think about the story of Irma in the book. A librarian, late 60s. She really wanted to give a toast at her granddaughter's wedding, but decades ago she had one bad experience, just one embarrassing moment speaking off the cuff.
Oh, wow.
And that convinced her, for life, basically, that it just wasn't her thing. It put these huge constraints on her life. She even picked her career, research librarian, partly because it meant less spontaneous talking.
That's intense.
It is. But then you contrast that with Arcana, a student who also felt anxious, but she actively worked on it. She learned to push past that fear and grab opportunities that helped her career. It really shows how we approach it, That's what makes the difference.
So let's unpack that feeling, being blinded by the spotlight, as Abrahams calls it. It's that moment, right? You know what you want to say. It's right there.
Yeah.
But the pressure, the social setting, it just makes your mind sort of detach from your body.
Total disconnect.
You feel confused, overwhelmed, maybe even threatened. And then that classic fight or flight kicks in.
Yep. Arc palms.
Limbs shaking maybe, and what Abrahams calls plumbing reversal, which is such a vivid phrase.
It is.
Your palms get sweaty, but your mouth goes totally dry.
The worst combination.
There's a really memorable example of this, Michael Bay, the big Hollywood director.
Right. Transformers, Armageddon.
Exactly. At the Consumer Electronics Show back in 2014, he's doing a presentation for a sponsor, and the teleprompter just dies.
Oh, no.
And even though he's talking about his own movies, stuff he obviously knows inside out, he just freezes. Total loss for words.
Wow.
He kind of fumbled for a second, muttered an apology, and just walked off stage. Someone joked they hadn't cringed like that since Transformers 2.
Ouch. But it shows. Right. Even really successful people can stumble when they have to improvise.
Totally.
Which brings up that big question. Why do so many of us tell ourselves, oh, impromptu speaking just isn't my thing? Like Michael Bay or like Irma, that one bad experience can just cement this belief for life. We think, I'm a bad communicator. And then it becomes this vicious cycle, doesn't it? Your nerves make you perform worse.
Which makes you more nervous next time?
Exactly. And it just holds you back. You've got that little soundtrack in your head saying, I can't do this. So you just kind of shrink back, keep quiet.
Stay in the shadows.
But the book really offers hope here. It says, look, if you're challenged by spontaneous speaking, there are concrete things you can do.
Okay, so let's get into those concrete things. Matt Abrahams lays out this 6-step methodology in the book. And these aren't just abstract ideas. They're meant to be practical tools for you listening right now to use in those moments.
Right.
The steps are calm, unlock, redefine, listen, structure, and focus. We're going to dive into each one, give you a real roadmap.
Sounds good.
So step 1 is calm. Our journey starts by facing that anxiety beast head on. Because let's be real, spontaneous communication often feels like a threat, doesn't it? It triggers that fight or flight instantly. Abrahams even shares his own story, a job interview, where the CEO asks this unexpected, kind of intense question.
The peeling back the onion one.
And boom, he felt it all. Shoulders tense, throat dry, brain totally overloaded, jittery, hot. The works. But the good news is we can manage this. The first step is just acknowledging it's real and learning how to tame it.
Yeah, because it's the unmanaged anxiety that really trips us up. It sends you into that, what he calls the anxiety spiral.
Right.
And that's when you choke. So the book suggests this two-pronged approach. First, deal with the symptoms in the moment. And those symptoms break down into affective your feelings, behavioral what your body does, and cognitive your thoughts.
Okay, so starting with affective, those unhelpful feelings, the advice is mindfulness.
Pretty much. Professor S. Christian Wheeler suggests creating some psychological distance. You basically tell yourself, okay, I feel anxious, but these feelings don't define me.
Observing it without getting swept away.
Exactly. Now, for the behavioral stuff, where your body's doing deep breathing is, classic for a reason.
Tried and true.
But neuroscientist Andrew Huberman adds a key detail. He was on the Think Fast, Talk Smart podcast and said the real magic is in the exhale.
Oh, interesting. How so?
Make your exhale about twice as long as your inhale. That actually reduces the carbon dioxide in your system, calms your nervous system right down, and naturally slows your speech.
That's a great tip. What if you're a fast talker generally?
Well, besides the breathing, try consciously slowing down your physical movements, your gestures, nodding, that sort of thing. Speech often syncs up with movement, so slowing your body can slow your words.
Okay, makes sense. And what about blushing or sweating, those visible signs?
Yeah, those can feel really exposing. The book suggests cooling your body, specifically your hands.
Their hands?
Yep, just holding something cold like a cold water bottle or glass. It helps regulate your core temperature and can dial down those stress reactions. It's surprisingly effective.
Huh. I'll have to try that. But what about the cognitive stuff? Like when your mind goes blank or you get stuck in negative self-talk, that loop of, oh God, I'm bombing.
Right, the mental game. For that, a positive mantra can really help.
Yeah.
Something simple like, I have value to add, or I've got this. Just repeating it can break that negative cycle.
Okay.
And if you do blank out, a great tactic, go back to go forward. Just repeat the last thing that was said, maybe by the person before you, or even your own last point.
Buys you a second.
Exactly. Buys you time,
Yeah.
helps you regroup, and it actually reinforces the point for everyone listening, so it's a win-win.
You can also buy time by maybe asking the audience a general question, something relevant like...
Like, before we continue, maybe take a moment to think how this applies to your own work.
Yeah, exactly. It just shifts the focus off you for a beat, gives you space to breathe.
And, often our fear of judgment is way overblown because of the spotlight effect.
Right. We think everyone's watching us so closely.
But usually they're wrapped up in their own stuff, their own anxieties. They're probably not scrutinizing you nearly as much as you think.
That's comforting, actually. Okay, one more physical thing, those filler words, the ums and uneases. How do we tackle those?
This is a neat trick from the book. It's apparently nearly impossible to say or while you're inhaling.
Really?
Yeah. So the trick is to manage your breath. Finish your sentence or phrase, exhale completely, so you have to inhale right after you stop talking.
Forces an inhale instead of allowing space for a filler.
Precisely. And bonus, it builds in natural pauses, which are actually good, gives your audience a moment to process.
That's clever.
So the big idea with Calm isn't about eliminating nerves. It's about building your own toolkit, your personalized anxiety management plans, or AMPs. The book gives examples like Boom, Be Present, Observe Movements, Oxygenate Mantra, or RRC, Acknowledge, Rationalize, Cool Down. Stephanie, the CDO, mentioned she developed her own AMP around heart, speech, and mind. It helped her manage her anxiety and become more effective, even coach others. These AMPs aren't like a one-time fix. They're ongoing experiments you tweak to figure out what works for you so you can speak up without freaking out, like the author did in that tough interview.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Moving on to the second step, UNLOCK. And this one feels almost revolutionary. The idea that good enough is great.
Yeah, it really challenges our perfectionist tendencies, doesn't it?
Totally. Stop aiming for perfect and get more comfortable with, well, getting things wrong sometimes. The book uses this game, Shout the Wrong Name, to show how our brains work under pressure. We naturally fall back on mental shortcuts, heuristics, trying to get it right, even when we're supposed to be random. People call out words in the same category or repeat others. It's unconscious.
And what's fascinating is how those very shortcuts, while efficient for routine stuff, can actually stifle spontaneity and creativity.
Yeah.
Remember Ellen Langer's famous experiment? Just adding the word because made people comply with a request almost on autopilot, even if the reason given was nonsensical.
Right, the copy machine experiment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In conversations, if we rely too much on those automatic responses, we miss things. Like maybe a colleague just needs to vent, needs validation, but our default heuristic is, okay, here's the solution, the action item.
Yeah, I can see that. It reminds me of those Stanford design students. Given $5 in 2 hours, instead of the usual start a small service idea, they sold their presentation time to a company for $650. Totally broke the mold.
Brilliant.
Or Abrahams himself, with that high school kid yelling, "I love spaghetti." Instead of his usual ignore and move on tactic, he spontaneously tossed him a Parmesan cheese packet.
Yeah. Unexpected, personal, and it worked. It diffused the situation way better than the standard approach.
So breaking out of those mental ruts is key.
Absolutely. Yeah. And stepping back, this applies beyond conversation. The design firm IDEO looked at Formula One pit crews, totally different context, to rethink hospital emergency rooms.
Wow.
That led to things like prepackaged kits for common procedures, making things way more efficient, all because they avoided the usual healthcare heuristics.
So beyond these mental shortcuts, we also get tripped up by just judging ourselves too harshly, right?
Yeah.
That perfectionism.
Definitely. Like the student playing Shout the Wrong Name who felt they weren't wrong enough.
Yeah.
Our whole culture pushes us towards getting it right and punishes mistakes. That really fuels self-criticism.
So what's the alternative?
Dare to be dull.
Haha, okay, explain that.
It's a core idea in improv. Dan Klein says, be obvious is the most powerful creative mantra. Don't try so hard to be brilliant or funny. Just say the simple, obvious thing. It actually frees up mental energy. Steve Johnston from Second City talks about being a brick. Just add the next building block to the conversation. You don't always have to build a whole cathedral with every utterance.
Be a brick, not a cathedral builder. I like that. So what does this mean for us, practically?
Well, the book suggests reframing mistakes. Think of them as mistakes, like in movies. They shoot multiple takes to get options right. Professor Wheeler even says, failure is a great thing because it shows you're pushing your boundaries. That's where learning happens. Some companies even have failure Fridays to normalize it.
Making it okay to mess up.
Exactly. And another way to ease the pressure, think of spontaneous interactions as conversations, not performances.
Less pressure with conversation.
For sure. Conversations are more casual, less about right or wrong, more about connection and flow. Anthony Venecial from Freestyle Love Supreme.
The improv hip-hop roots.
He had a severe speech impediment growing up. He stayed quiet for years, fearing failure. But he learned to reconnect with his spontaneous self, eventually becoming an improv master. It just shows your input is valuable, regardless of your history or fears. It's about authentic connection.
Okay, so CAM is about managing anxiety. UNLOCK is about embracing imperfection. What's step 3? Redefine.
Redefine is all about mindset, shifting how you perceive these spontaneous situations.
So stop seeing them as threats.
Exactly. See them as opportunities instead. Because when you perceive a threat, you get defensive, right? Mentally, physically. It just drains the energy you need for creative communication. Think about comedian Trevor Wallace. He gets hecklers sometimes, disruptive audience members. Instead of seeing it as an attack,
He turns it into material.
totally. He embraces it, riffs on it, creates these hilarious moments he shares online. He redefines the disruption as an opportunity for unique content.
That's a great example. This sounds related to Carol Dweck's work on mindset.
Absolutely. Fixed versus growth mindset. Fixed mindset says, my abilities are set in stone. Growth mindset says, I can improve with effort.
Right.
If you adopt a growth mindset towards communication, focusing on effort and learning rather than just the outcome, you'll likely feel less anxious and be more open to actually getting better.
Makes sense. So redefining the situation, redefining yourself. What else?
A huge one is shifting the focus off you and onto your audience. Patricia Ryan Madsen, the improv expert, puts it perfectly. It's not about you. It's about the rest of the people here.
Ooh, I like that. Takes the pressure off.
It really does. Most audiences aren't like Olympic judges waiting to deduct points. They're just people. They usually want you to succeed. They want to connect and learn something.
Okay, so focus on them. What else helps redefine?
Moving from yes, but, or just plain no, to yes, and.
The classic improv principle.
It's breathtakingly simple and extraordinarily powerful, as the book says. It forces you to listen, to build on what the other person said, rather than shutting it down or redirecting. You have to relinquish some control.
Letting the conversation go unexpected places.
Exactly. And finally, redefining how you handle setbacks or even successes. Adopt the next play mindset.
Like Coach K at Duke.
Precisely. Don't dwell on the last thing that happened, good or bad. Just reset quickly. Focus on what's next. The author used this when he had to lay people off. Instead of getting stuck in the awfulness, he reframed it as an opportunity to help his team plan their next steps. It led to much more productive conversations.
Finding the upside and the downside. Okay, so mindset is crucial. Step 4 is listen. which feels obvious, but maybe isn't.
Well, we think we listen, but often we don't listen deeply, especially in spontaneous moments. We're too busy thinking about our reply.
Right. Planning our own brilliant comment.
Exactly. The book stresses listening not just for words, but for the underlying mental and emotional state.
Okay, give me an example.
Fred Dust's story advising the Greek government is amazing. He was all set to recommend selling this piece of land.
Mm-hmm.
But he picked up on subtle cues from the officials, their body language, the way they talked about the sea, their heritage, a kind of ambivalence.
He sensed something wasn't quite right.
Yeah. So he scrapped his plan on the spot and basically articulated their unspoken feelings back to them. The prime minister was blown away, said Dust had captured exactly what they were feeling but couldn't express.
Wow, so the deal was off?
Deal was off. And Dust got invited to dinner, all because he truly listened beyond the surface level.
That's powerful. What stops us from listening like that? Abrahams calls it noise.
Yep, 3 kinds. Physical noise, distracting environment. Physiological noise, being hungry, tired, nervous yourself. And psychological noise are biases, judging, mentally rehearsing.
That mental rehearsal trap is so common.
It really is. But the benefits of real listening are huge. You uncover hidden information. You start recognizing patterns, like Ari Fleischer did as White House press secretary, learning to anticipate reporters' questions just by absorbing everything.
Mm-hmm.
And it opens up opportunities. Like Adam Tobin realizing that studio exec's weird sci-fi question wasn't really about sci-fi, but about needing ammo for his boss. Tobin adjusted his pitch and succeeded.
And good listening helps the speaker too, right?
Absolutely. Research shows speakers are sharper, less anxious, and more willing to share when they feel genuinely heard. When the listener isn't obviously distracted, your focus actually helps them.
So how do we get better at it? The book mentions pace, space, and grace.
Yeah, Collins-Dobbs framework. Pace is about slowing down. Let there be silence. Deborah Schifrin, the former NPR journalist, used that killer last question, followed by patient waiting to get deeper answers.
Embrace the pause.
Right. Take deep breaths yourself. Maybe use a mantra like, I'm here for you, to stay present. Space is about creating room for reflection. Ask clarifying questions. What makes you say that? Paraphrase what you heard. You could even ask about what wasn't said.
Digging a bit deeper.
Exactly. And grace is about tuning into your own intuition while you're listening to others. Like John's eulogy for his grand-mère. He lost his notes, but by listening to his heart and the audience's vibe, he delivered something incredibly authentic.
So listening is active, not passive.
Definitely. Remember Robin Williams at TED in 2008? Tech issues, awkward silence.
Yeah, he just filled it with hilarious improv.
He listened to the moment, saw what was needed, and delivered. That's deep listening in action.
Okay, so calm, unlock, redefine, listen. Step 5 is structure, which again sounds kind of contradictory for spontaneous speaking.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
How can you structure spontaneity? But the book argues structure actually enables it.
How so?
Think of a jazz musician. They improvise, right? But usually within the existing structure of the song, the melody, the chords,
Okay, a framework.
or playground design. Megan Telerowski points out kids need a frame or stage for good play, otherwise they might just treat each other like playthings.
Yeah.
The structure provides safety and direction.
Gotcha. So structure helps guide spontaneity. What kind of structures work for speaking?
Narratives are incredibly powerful, universal structures. Think about music, verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, like A, B, A, B, C, B. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
Movies often use formulas like A, B, D, C, E, action, backstory, development, climax, ending. Even sermons have structures, like me, we, thee, we, me. We're wired for this stuff.
So why are these narrative structures so helpful on the fly?
Well, first, they hold attention. They give listeners a clear path, a line of interest, and make the transitions between your ideas obvious. Even MLK's I Have a Dream speech, much of which was improvised, followed a subtle problem-solution benefit flow without hitting you over the head with it.
Keeps people engaged. What else?
Second, structure makes things sticky, memorable. Our brains are wired for stories, for episodic memory. Neuroscientist David Eagleman uses the Star Wars Death Star analogy. You remember the story, the vulnerability, not just the technical specs. Storytelling is the porthole that completely can sway us.
Okay, memorable. And third?
Repeatability. Raymond Nazar, the consultant, tells entrepreneurs to structure their VC pitches as stories. Why? Because a good story gets remembered, retold. Maybe even becomes mythology. It spreads.
Structure gives your ideas legs.
Exactly. And stepping back, structure also helps the listener's brain. It boosts processing fluency, making information easier to take in. Plus, it makes your job easier. If you have a structure, you don't have to worry so much about how to say it. You can focus on what to say. The author shows this by giving great 5-minute speeches on random topics with just 15 seconds to pick a structure.
Okay, I'm sold on structure. What's a good, easy one to start with?
The book calls What So What Now what the Swiss Army knife of structures.
Okay, what is it? So why does it matter? Now what? What should we do?
You got it. Discuss the idea what, explain its importance or relevance, so what, and tell the audience the next step or takeaway, now what. Sarah Zeitler, the marketing manager in the book, used it for an impromptu product launch presentation when someone else bailed. Nailed it. People praised her clarity.
So what now what? Simple, powerful, are there others?
Oh yeah, plenty. PRP is another classic. Point, reason, example, point. Problem, solution, benefit is great for persuasion. Comparison, contrast, conclusion. STAR for telling behavioral stories. Situation, task, action, result.
Okay, lots of options.
The advice is, don't try to learn them all. Just pick 2 or 3 that resonate with you, that fit the kinds of situations you face, and really master those.
Makes sense. How do you practice using structure?
You can mentally practice what now? What when you read news articles or stockpile stories, think about key anecdotes and messages you might use in advance. Like politicians prepping for debates. Spontaneous speaking doesn't mean zero preparation. It means being prepared enough to be flexible and effective in the moment.
Prepared for spontaneity. I like that. Okay, final step. Foci suesos. The F word, as Abrahams calls it.
Yeah. This is about making your message clear, concise, and relevant. We've all been in conversations that just meander, right? Or talks that are way too long-winded.
For sure.
Think about Steve Jobs introducing the iPod. 1,000 songs in your pocket.
Instantly iconic.
Why? Because it was incredibly focused. 5 words told you everything you needed to know. That's the power of focus.
So how do we achieve that focus? The book breaks it down.
Yep, 4 dimensions.
Yeah.
Precision, relevance, accessibility, and concision.
Okay, precision.
That means having a clear goal. What exactly do you want your audience to know, feel, and do after hearing you? Marketing professor Baba Shiv notes emotion drives like 90–95% of decisions. So be clear on the feeling too.
Yeah.
And be specific about the doing part. Don't just say support, say how.
No, feel, do, got it. Relevance.
That's answering the why should I care question for your audience. Jim Koch, the founder of Sam Adams Beer, lived by the golden rule of selling. Tailor your pitch to the customer's best interest. If you don't tailor your message, you're just assuming they care. You need to make it relevant, maybe create some curiosity or tension to pull them in.
Okay. Accessibility. Sounds like avoiding jargon.
Exactly. Avoid jargon, acronyms, overly technical terms. The book mentions a company with a GOAT handbook glossary of acronyms and terms. That's how bad it can get.
Haha. Okay.
Learn from people like Hans Rosling using simple stones to show population growth, or Lego instructions so clear anyone can follow them.
Have you
Try a jargon challenge. Practice finding simpler synonyms.
Good idea. And finally, concision.
Use minimal words. The author's wife uses that mantra with her kids. Neurologically, concise messages are just easier for brains to process. Cartoonist Hilary Price is a master of this fewest words possible. Let the picture do the work. Often showing the moment before something happens, letting your mind fill in the funny part.
Less is more. How do you practice concision?
Record yourself and check the transcript for rambling or repetition. Or try brevity challenges. Summarize a complex idea in a tweet, that kind of thing.
Or minimal words. Okay, so the payoff for all this focus.
Look at Google's mission statement: to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. 12 words.
Powerful.
Achieving that kind of focus takes work. It's a labor of love, but makes your message incredibly potent.
But can you take focus too far? Be too rigid or concise?
Oh, absolutely. That's the balancing act. You can become too narrow or so brief you're actually confusing. The key is always mindfulness of your audience. What do they need? Make it easy, pain-free, and interesting for them. That's the sweet spot.
Okay, so those are the 6 steps. Calm, unlock, redefine, listen, structure, focus. Now, how do these apply to specific situations we all face?
The book gives some recipes, right?
Yeah, some really practical templates for common scenarios like small talk. Use what so what now, what to start or continue, and remember the first commandment. Focus on support responses. Tell me more. That sounds interesting. Not shift responses where you immediately talk about yourself. Keep it balanced.
Good tip for networking. What about toasts or tributes?
Think of them as gifts. Use the what structure. Why are we here? How are you connected? Anecdotes or learnings. Thank you. Keep it brief, be ready for emotion, and focus on shared feelings to create unity. The author's eulogy for his colleague, Edwina, is a great example.
Okay, pitches. When you need to persuade someone,
Use problem-solution benefit structure. Boost it with analogies. Try the foot-in-the-door technique, start small. Frame benefits positively, like calling a used car previously enjoyed, and address potential obstacles up front.
Smart. Q&A sessions, those can be tricky. Reframe Q&A as a dialogue, an opportunity. Use the ADD structure. Answer the question directly. Detail with evidence or explanation. Describe the value or relevance. Prep for likely questions, manage the time, and if nobody asks anything, ask and answer the first one yourself.
Break the ice. Okay. Giving feedback. Always sensitive.
Frame it as collaborative problem solving. Use the 4 I's. Information, the specific behavior. Impact, its effect. Invitation, ask for their perspective ideas. Implications, next steps, consequences. Do it promptly, privately. If it's serious, use we. Stay balanced and focus on just 1-2 key things. The author used this to help his student Alice improve.
4 eyes. Got it. Last one. Apologies.
Crucial if you're taking risks. Use the AAA structure. Acknowledge the action and accept responsibility. No, sorry if. Appreciate the impact on others. Detail the amends or action you'll take. Don't over-apologize either. The author used this after an insensitive example in class, focusing on the impact on the student.
Acknowledge, appreciate, amends. AAA. Okay, wow. That's a ton of practical advice packed in there.
It really is.
We've gone through calming anxiety, unlocking creativity by dishing perfectionism, redefining our mindset, truly listening, using structure, and focusing our message. It's quite a journey.
And it's amazing to think about the real-world impact. Remember Annabelle Williams, the Paralympics?
Yeah, the story about her broadcasting debut.
Exactly. Thrust into co-hosting a primetime show for millions, teleprompter completely blank. Nightmare scenario, right? But because she'd spent years working on managing anxiety, reframing challenges, speaking concisely, basically, using these kinds of skills, she just improvised. Talked about beach volleyball, hurdles. She handled it brilliantly. It shows this stuff works even under extreme pressure.
That's incredible. It reminds me of that martial arts analogy in the book. Getting a black belt isn't the end.
Right. It's just the beginning. There's always infinite amount still to learn with spontaneous communication. It's a practice. So stepping back, mastering this isn't really about achieving perfection. It's more about patience, commitment, and grace. Being prepared enough so you can actually show up as your authentic self in the moment.
Prepared enough to be present. I like that. So as you listening right now, step into your next meeting, your next conversation, that next moment where you put on the spot, maybe think about this. What's the one thing, just one element from our deep dive today that you'll try out? Not aiming for perfection, just aiming to be a little more authentically, effectively you when that spotlight hits.